Okay, let's make one more video before Dawn Trail. Well, Deep Dungeon sounds fun. That probably won't take too long, right? Oh. Huh. Well, let's get into it. Deep Dungeon is a roguelike dungeon mode that pits yourself and your party against a gauntlet of randomly generated dungeon floors. These floors will progressively get harder as you go deeper, but the potential rewards also get better. This game mode runs on an independent leveling system. This means that if you were to start a fresh Palace of the Dead run, you will start at level 1, but rapidly level up as you kill mobs on each floor. After you complete a set of 10 floors, a massive experience points will be applied to your class's true level, making these a great way to level up jobs. There are currently 3 deep dungeons in the game. Palace of the Dead is the first one and can be unlocked in A Realm Reborn. Heaven on High can be found in Stormblood, and Eureka Orthos is unlocked in Endwalker. While each deep dungeon has its own unique quirks, all of them run on the same general rules. For simplicity's sake, we're going to focus on Palace of the Dead for now, and I'll cover the key differences of the other 2 dungeons later in the video. The biggest difference between Palace and the other dungeons is that Palace has 200 floors, while the other dungeons end at floor 100. As always, this video will be cut up into chapters, so you can jump to the section you're most curious about. Each of these give you the option of running with a group of up to 4 people, or you can even solo these challenges to truly test your mettle and receive some very rare titles. For this video, I'm going to be going in a little more depth than I usually do, but if you just want to know how to get started, remember that any floor that you can queue up for with a matched party is probably doable with minimal special knowledge. You can unlock the Palace of the Dead in Gridania by picking up the quest, The House That Death Built. The only prerequisite for this quest is that you must be level 17 and must have completed the Copperbell Mines dungeon, so you can do this content very early in the game. Once you have Palace of the Dead unlocked, you can talk to the Wood Whaler Expeditionary Captain in Quarry Mill to enter the Palace of the Dead. The Deep Dungeon system only allows you to have up to 2 separate run attempts saved at any one time. If you want to overwrite an old save, you will have to select Reset Your Progress on the Deep Dungeon main menu and select the file you'd like to erase. When you start a new Deep Dungeon run, you will be asked to join as a fixed party or a matched party. A matched party simply means the game will put you in a duty finder to find additional players to fill a 4-man team. Your dungeon inventory will be reset after each set of 10 floors, but your dungeon level will always start at an appropriate level for your current floor set. A fixed party means you are entering the dungeon with a set pre-made party. Your inventory will carry over between floor sets, as will your Deep Dungeon experience bar. The catch for this, however, is that a fixed party must keep the same members on the same classes between dungeon sessions. This includes distinguishing between classes and jobs. For example, if you start a run as an archer, but later unlock Bard, you must continue the save as an archer, or else you'll have to start over if you want to switch to Bard for the expanded toolkit. Finally, on the subject of party types, if you are looking to progress to the final floor of any deep dungeon, you must be a fixed party, as matched parties will only be able to progress part way. If you run into a situation where you can no longer continue with a fixed party for whatever reason, you can convert that save file into a matched party by talking to the Expeditionary Captain and selecting Disband your fixed party. Okay, now that you're in the Deep Dungeon, what are we looking at? The biggest change is that if you try to open your character page, you'll instead be greeted by this window. While in Deep Dungeons, the game only cares about your Aether Pool arm and armor stats, not your actual gear. You can increase these by opening silver chests within the dungeon. The main attraction is the shared inventory beneath your stats. As you explore, you'll be collecting things called Pomanders that can be used to power up yourself or power down your enemies. What's important to know, however, is that your Pomanders are shared across your entire party. So if you use a Pomander of Strength, that one Pomander will disappear from everyone else's inventory too. You may also notice that the minimap looks a little more simplistic. This is because the randomly generated rooms of any floor are arranged in sort of grid pattern. While the maps themselves will stay simple, they can have icons that tell you what you may have missed from an explored room. On every floor of the dungeon, there will always be 2 beacons hidden around. the Beacon of Passage, and the Beacon of Returning. These activate after you defeat a certain amount of monsters on that floor, and you can see how close your beacons are to activating by the key and plant symbols above your minimap. The Beacon of Passage is denoted by a key symbol, and that is your staircase to the next floor. Once it's activated, your entire party must be standing within the circle for 3 seconds without combat to move on. The Beacon of Returning is marked by a little plant shape, and once activated, a player can use the beacon to resurrect all party members that have died. This can only be used once per floor, but can be an absolute run saver if everyone in your party dies except the tank who can't res anyone. Something else you will often find on every dungeon floor are treasure chests. These come in 3 different varieties, and the color of the chest will clue you in on what could be inside. Bronze chests will hold regular items that you can collect in your character's personal inventory. Things like Phoenix Downs, potions, and deep dungeon specific items called potsherds. Potsherds are used as a sort of currency and can be exchanged near the entrance of the corresponding deep dungeon for powerful dungeon-specific potions or for additional rewards like minions. Silver chests will often release a flash of light, and you will see a message such as, "Your Aether Pool armor has been increased." Your Aether Pool stats are the only permanent power gains your character will receive between save files. You can be wearing literally any gear in the game, but if you want to dive deep, Aether Pool is the only stat you will care about. Gold chests will commonly hold Pomanders, which we'll get back to in a bit. These are your power-ups that go into your shared party inventory. Depending on if you are in a fixed or matched party, your Pomanders may go away between runs, so make sure to use them while you can. Also important to note, some chests can be trapped. This will cause them to either explode when opened, or can become a mimic that you will have to defeat. Mimics can apply the Pox debuff, which damages you over time for the next 10 minutes unless you have a healer who can Asuna you or a Pomander of Purity. Now let's take a closer look at Pomanders. These are powerful items that can potentially swing a doom situation and save your run. Most Pomanders are pretty straightforward, but here are a few highlights. Pomanders' strength and steel will increase your attack power and defensive power respectively. Sight will reveal all rooms in your current floor and reveal the location of all traps by showing these red glowing runes on the floor. Safety simply turns off all traps. Witching will transform all enemies in your current room into a much weaker form, which makes it excellent if you find yourself getting swarmed. Raising will automatically resurrect the next party member who dies, which makes it essential for any solo run. Each deep dungeon has special Pomanders that are exclusive to them. For example, the Palace of Dead has the Pomanders of Rage, Lust, and Resolution. These will turn your character into some type of powerful monster that can situationally wreck through monsters and bosses. Now, monsters aren't the only thing dangerous in here. Sometimes when you enter a new floor, you will see a buff or debuff appear above your minimap. These enchantments will affect both your party and the monsters, so it's important to take note of when these appear. Some can be beneficial, like an infinite sprint or an increase to health pools. Unfortunately, most will be detrimental, such as Gloom, which will increase enemies' attack, defense, and movement speed. If you ever get a combination of enchantments you'd rather not deal with, using the Pomander of Serenity will remove all of them. Hidden throughout each floor will be traps that your group can stumble into for various consequences. Luckily, only one trap can be in each room, and the room you spawn in will always be trap-free. The Pomanders of Safety and Sight can protect you, but otherwise be careful. Typically, the safest way through a room is to hug the walls, but if you're in a matched party that's looking to clear quickly, it's often people won't worry too much about traps. Just remember to stay spread out so if a landmine or impeding trap is triggered, not everyone is affected. If you use the Pomander of Intuition, you might spawn into a floor where you see the message, "The Accursed Hoard calls to you." If you see this, that means you can find a small pillar of light somewhere on your current floor. Standing on this light for a moment will spawn an Accursed Hoard chest. This will put a piece of the Accursed Hoard in your party's inventory, and if your party successfully clears your set of 10 floors, you'll each get a bronze, silver, or gold sack in your character's inventories that you can bring to an Accursed Hoard appraiser outside the appropriate dungeon for a chance at rare and valuable rewards. The loot you can get from the Accursed Hoard can vary widely. You might get a mount worth millions of gil, maybe some glamour, furniture, or minions. Or, if you're less lucky, fireworks or demi-materia that you can sell for set amounts of gil. The second deep dungeon you'll be able to unlock is called Heaven on High and can be found in Onokoro in the Ruby Sea. You'll have to finish the first 50 floors of Palace of the Dead and then complete the quest Knocking on Heaven's Door to unlock it. This dungeon covers levels 60 through 70. Heaven on High has a lot of unique Pomanders that can only be found here. These include things such as the Pomander of Petrification, which turns all currently spawned enemies to stone and makes them killable with one hit. You also gain access to special Pomanders called Magicites. These summon Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, or Odin depending on which type of Magicite you use. Using one of these will defeat all currently spawned enemies on your current floor, which will immediately unlock the Beacon of Passage and allow you to run more freely. Though, traps will still be active. Odin is the only Magicite that instantly defeats boss floors, which might be a fun thing to keep in mind if you reach a boss that you don't want to deal with. The other Magicites only deal 25% of the boss's max health. Eureka Orthos is the Endwalker Deep Dungeon and can be found in Mordona. To unlock Eureka Orthos, you must finish the base Endwalker story and then complete the quest Delve into Myth in Residence Toll. This one also requires you to have cleared 50 floors in the Palace of the Dead. Orthos covers levels 80 through 90. The Pomanders here are called Protomanders, but they behave exactly the same as Pomanders from previous dungeons. The unique Protomanders here include things such as the Protomander of Storms, which puts every monster on your current floor to 1 HP. This is essentially like the Pomander of Petrification, but you'll have to use it a little more strategically since monsters will naturally regenerate health over time outside of combat. Replacing Magicites in Orthos are the Demi-Clone Generators. These will summon a powerful NPC that will follow you around and assist you until you move on to the next floor. One thing in particular to look out for in Orthos that might cause you trouble if you aren't prepared are the Dread Beasts. These are rare spawning creatures that are extremely dangerous unless you treat it like a difficult dungeon boss or, better yet, have a Protomander of Storms to deal with them quickly. The game will warn you if you spawn into a floor with a Dread Beast, and you will be able to recognize them by the eerie red aura that surrounds them. Now, you've built up your Aether Pool, you have your team, or perhaps going solo, and you want to see one of these gauntlets to the end. Here are some tips on how to get there. If you're looking to go all the way through a deep dungeon, the biggest thing you need to do is prepare yourself for failure. That may sound harsh, but the real final boss in deep dungeons is actually the mental boss. So many things can and will go wrong, and it's not uncommon for one bad trap to end a whole run right at the end. Fully beating these things is more a marathon than a sprint. On that note, do your research. I'll be linking the Deep Dungeon Compendium in the description below. This is an extremely good resource that has helped many people avoid dangerous monster mechanics and even comes with class-specific tips to make your life easier. Bosses aren't the only thing dangerous in these halls. The normal monsters on each floor can be equally lethal if you don't look up the oncoming threats. It only takes one total party wipe to send you all the way back to the beginning, as a wipe will bar you from progressing further than halfway through a complete run. On top of simply surviving, deep dungeons, just like other instances, have a constantly ticking clock that you will have to beat. This is super easy on lower floors, but you may find higher number floors starting to cut it close. Hold on to powerful Pomanders like these on the screen for as long as you can. These can save you from dire situations, so you should save them for either emergencies or for the final floors to turn a potential trial into a victory lap. One of the most useful tips that players of any skill level can use is the fact that all enemies have situational awareness. This means that there are ways to sneak past them. The most common type of awareness is sight. This means they have a 90-degree cone of vision in front of them, and if you walk behind them, they won't notice you. Second, there's hearing. This means that they will only attack you if you run past them. You can avoid these mobs by toggling your walk speed and slowly moving along. Finally, there's proximity. This means they will attack you if you get too close to them, but also means they don't care if you are in front of them or making a lot of noise by running. You can see what type of awareness any monster has by looking at the Deep Dungeon Compendium down in the description. Deep Dungeons are an extremely unique form of content in Final Fantasy XIV that is easy to learn on the surface, but as you can see, has a lot more going on as you dig deeper. I tried to touch on everything a new player might want to know going into this content, but if you have any questions or notice something I missed, please let me know down in the comments. I know this is a long one, but thank you for watching. This is Opal from the Sprout Garden. See ya!